I'm going to make this choice, and I don't get to know how long this road is going to be. And so a lot of times, right when you feel like giving up, it's like right around the corner is the finish line you're looking for. But it's also true that sometimes you go around the corner and you're not even close, right? You're not even halfway. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to another episode of Morning Coffee. My name is Rick Alexander and I host the Morning Coffee podcast. You guys can check me out at Rick Alexander _ or at the Morning Coffee podcast on Instagram. Tuesdays, we've been doing this thing where I'm going through Mandino's 10 scrolls out of his book, The Greatest Salesman. And today we're moving into scroll number 3. And this will actually be the last one that I do for a while because in November, I've got a new series coming up called 31 Maxims to Maximize Your Life. So it'll be all of November and one day of December. Super excited to roll that one out, but also really excited to share this final reading from scroll 3 with you, as this has definitely got to be one of my favorites. I think it captures the essence of striving and really pushing forward for what you want in this life, despite your sort of human condition. A lot of times you're susceptible to things like pain and setback and worry and confusion and all of the things that kind of get in the way of the human experience and trying to become who you want to become in this life. And so this one is called I Will Persist Until I Succeed, and it starts with the same line. And then he goes in to say, in the Orient, young bulls are tested for the fight arena in a certain manner. Each is brought to the ring and allowed to attack a picador who pricks them with a lance. The bravery of each bull is then rated with care according to the number of times he demonstrates his willingness to charge in spite of the sting of the blade. Henceforth will I recognize that each day I am tested by life in like manner. If I persist, if I continue to try, if I continue to charge forward, I will succeed. I will persist until I succeed. And that, I think, the real value in that, as sad as you might find that experience with the bulls, I think that the essence of that is where he says their willingness to charge in spite of the sting of the blade. And I think that's when it comes to this human experience, it's like we're dealt a certain amount of adversity, and whatever you're afraid of, wherever your adversity is, also in there lies your call to adventure and the need to step forward amidst that pain. And of course, a lot of times what you see is people who are really brought to their knees by life, and then they decide to dedicate their life to keeping other people from having to go through that, whether they survived cancer or maybe lost a loved one to it or whatever it is, right? It's like there's something about this human experience where if we fight back, if we have a willingness to charge in spite of the sting of the blade, it's like we're rewarded in some way with character of soul and with grit and with meaning that is actually really hard to come by in this life. And you can tell that just by if you go out and you were to survey like 20 people, it's like very few people have a real sense of meaning in what they do. And so perhaps you could find that meaning in that willingness to charge, in spite of that sting. He goes on to say, I was not delivered unto this world in defeat, nor does failure course in my veins. I'm not a sheep waiting to be prodded by my shepherd. I am a lion and I refuse to talk, to walk, to sleep with the sheep. I will hear not those who weep and complain, for their disease is contagious. Let them join the sheep. The slaughterhouse of failure is not my destiny. I will persist until I succeed. That, of course, is one of my favorite, probably one of my favorite paragraphs of all time. I was not delivered into this world in defeat, nor does failure course in my veins. And I think that's a decision that he's making. I think that's the important part, right? It's like you're going to have to navigate this world with whatever you're given. And some of us are given more and some of us are given less. But the thing that separates us, the thing that you have the ability to do is to make that decision, right? To treat failure as if it's not an option. And that doesn't mean to wall yourself off to failure. I think that means to look at it for what it is. I think failure in some ways is just the sting of the blade, right? And you can make the decision to keep going, to keep moving forward. I like the part in this second paragraph as well where he says, I will not hear those who weep and complain, for their disease is contagious. And if you guys remember the good wolf and the bad wolf parable, I think what he's really alluding to there is that you've got to continuously feed that good wolf. The slaughterhouse of failure is not my destiny. That's the choice you make. But after you make that choice, you got to continuously feed that part of you. And you can see he's almost alluding to the fact that he's got a standard for his life there, because he refuses to talk and to walk, to sleep with those sheep. He goes on to say the prizes of life are at the end of each journey, not near the beginning. And it is not given to me to know how many steps are necessary in order to reach my goal. Failure I may still encounter at the 1,000th step, yet success hides behind the next bend in the road. Never will I know how close it lies until I turn the corner. Always will I take another step. If that is to no avail, I will take another and yet another. In truth, one step at a time is not too difficult. I will persist until I succeed. What he talks about there is a disposition to take toward all great endeavors, I think, which is at the very beginning of that. He says, the prizes of life are at the end of each journey, not near the beginning, and it is not given to me to know how many steps are necessary in order to reach my goal. And I think if you look out in the world, what you really find is a lot of people who give up right before they get to the end, or right before they get to the goal, or right before they get to the lifestyle. You see it a lot when people decide to make a pivot or a leap in life, and they take on their own business or maybe start a new relationship or something like that, and it turns out to be a lot harder than you thought. I think that's why this mindset is so important. Understand it's not given to you to know how many steps, but you can always take another. And if you're only talking about taking one, like he says, in truth, one step at a time, it's not too difficult. You can keep going. He goes on to say, henceforth, I will consider each day's effort as but one blow of my blade against a mighty oak. The first blow may cause not a tremor in the wood, nor the second, nor the third. Each blow of itself may be trifling and seem of no consequence. Yet from childish swipes, the oak will eventually tumble. So it will be with my efforts of today. I will be likened to the raindrop which washes away the mountain, the ant who devours a tiger, the star which brightens the earth, the slave who builds a pyramid. I will build my castle one brick at a time, for I know that small attempts repeated will complete any undertaking. I will persist until I succeed. And if you are living with some kind of imposter syndrome, thinking about the things that you want to do in your life, that's the thing to understand. It's that journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. It's like this stuff is so cliche, and at the same time couldn't be any more relevant to how we live our lives. I will never consider defeat, and I will remove from my vocabulary such words and phrases as quit, cannot, unable, impossible, out of the question, improbable, failure, unworkable, hopeless, and retreat. For they are words of fools. I will avoid despair, but if this disease of the mind should infect me, then I will work on in despair. I will toil and I will endure. I will ignore the obstacles at my feet and keep mine eyes on the goals above my head. For I know that where dry desert ends, green grass grows. I will persist until I succeed. Again, I like the tack that he takes here, because he's making his success a choice. He's not talking about if, he's not talking about if he's good enough, he's not talking about if he has the right opportunity. He's saying, no, this is the choice that I'm going to make. I'm going to avoid these things. And honestly, if I avoid them and then my mind still tries to infect me and still tries to keep me down, which it will, then I'll work on in despair. And I think that's something that I've got an intimate grapple with lately, especially in the last few months, because sometimes we're working and things are going really well. And it's like you're on top of the water, right? It's like you're planed out and things are good. And then sometimes, your mind will just start to spiral, and you'll just start to question things, and you'll start to, your mind will almost turn on you, right? And one of the things that I began to figure out in my own journey is when that happens, it's like, okay, well, you can still continue. You can still work on in despair. You can still keep producing, keep doing, and understand that mindset will, a lot of times it'll fade as progress becomes more and more clear. And I like that, because he says right after, as he says, I'll work on in despair, he says, I'll toil and I will endure. And that's the decision that he's making. I will remember the ancient law of averages, and I will bend it to my good. I will persist with knowledge that each failure to sell will increase my chance for success at the next attempt. Each no that I hear will bring me closer to the sound of yes. Each frown I meet only prepares me for the smile to come. Each misfortune I encounter will carry in it the seed of tomorrow's good luck. I must have the night or appreciate the day. I will try and try and try again. Each obstacle I will consider as a mere detour to my goal and a challenge to my profession. I will persist and develop my skills as the mariner develops his, by learning to ride out the wrath of each storm. I will persist until I succeed. you'll come up against a lot in this life. And I think that there's really something to be said by just choosing yourself, by just choosing success, by just choosing to continue on and understand that that's actually where you get to put your focus, right? Because all of the things that he talks about, all of the, even his own mind, right? It's like, well, maybe I can't control that. And you know that to be true, right? It's like everything that pops in your mind isn't always good. And it's also not something that you would necessarily ask for or find yourself, like it's not something that you yourself have influence or control over, right? It's like sometimes things just pop up in your head. Sometimes those things are good and sometimes they're bad. But there's still a choice that you can make. And so regardless of the failures, he says, I'm still going to make that choice. And one of the things he talks about is keeping that perspective, right? It's like, I'm going to make this choice and I don't get to know how long this road is going to be. And so a lot of times right when you feel like giving up, it's like right around the corner is the finish line you're looking for. But it's also true that sometimes you go around the corner and you're not even close, right? You're not even halfway. But again, you don't get to know. So if you put your emphasis for control on what you can actually control, which is taking another step, deciding that you won't be denied, well, it's hard to say that attitude wouldn't work out for you in some way, right? As long as you understand the subtleties and the nuances of life. Success in a lot of ways is just a choice that you make, and oftentimes it goes to people that make the choice. A lot of times we're standing on the sidelines and we're looking at people do incredible things and we're like, man, how are they able to do such things? And a lot of times it's because they didn't ask for permission. They actually just made the choice to step out from the sidelines and into the arena that they feel called to. That's something to really consider. I think this is one of the best scrolls. I think you could meditate on this every morning and it would put you in a pretty great spot for navigating this life experience. But either way, I hope you guys have an amazing Tuesday. We'll talk tomorrow on Morning Coffee.
I gotta grind, won't stop, hustle, won't quit, shine like no other, I be on some other shit. I got a high price lifestyle, super bad bitch. If I want it, bet I got it. If I don't bet, all I gotta do is go. Get, stay about my business. Ball till I fall, floss until I finish. I here go, get it, stay about my business. I live in just the killer, stacking millions to the ceiling. Every day above ground, all I wanna do is ball. Put my money over bitch, and put my hustle overall. Louis down to the draw, Louis Vuitton kit. Got a mad hat, a swagger bitch, I'm stupid dumb sick. With a group of young bitches and they stupid dumb thick. I'm the marathon man, all I do is run shit. A sophisticated convict, superficial, still official, multi-million-dollar shit. Money is the object, hot shit. Bitch, I got a sauna on my arm. Sick figure with no diamond, rich and million Vacheron. They just talk about they got it, I'm the upper echelon. No, bitch, I'm about that action, you can go on with the convo. I done more than you dream back at your dream bitch in your dream house. On lean passing them beans out with a bag crew, the whole team high. Gone boy, get seen back. Bro, you know me, you know I be stacking that dough, that's all I see. I-G-O-G-E-T-I-D. Grind won't stop, hustle won't quit, shine like no other. I be on some other shit. I got a high price lifestyle, super bad bitch. If I want it, bet I got it. If I don't bet, all I gotta do is go. Get, stay about my business. Ball till I fall, floss until I finish. I dare go. Get, stay about my business. I live in jet the killer, stacking millions to the ceiling. I real life, but late night get shit fade. When I take flight, I get paid, no sick days. My outfits on switchblade, don't sniff yay, but I blow drone. Bankroll on loco, still ride with that fofo, but don't let my P.O. know. Bad white bitch, super thick, I'm iced tea, she cocoa. She got another bitch, them other bitches, her ass fat, face so-so. No paper trail, no phone call, no emails, no photos. Jet back shot with that fat button, low blow head butts in slow-mo. Hey, purple label, polo and a cool, that's all I do. Man, I strive to roll my denim in them new Margiela shoe. Man, we be cool and we jet parlay. On Margarita, Molly, and the strongest pack around. Bumpin' shot they out and now we menage for a hobby. We kick it how we kick it. Know you envy how I'm living. Chick can't resist it. Pimpin', get the million back my business. Bro, you know me, you know I be stacking that dough, that's all I see. I-G-O-G-E-T-I-D. Grind won't stop, hustle won't quit, shine like no other. I be on some other shit. I got a high price lifestyle, super bad bitch. If I want it, bet I got it. If I don't bet, all I gotta do is go. Get, stay about my business. Ball till I fall, floss until I finish. I dare go. Get, stay about my business. I live in jet the killer, stacking millions to the ceiling. Now just go. Now just go. Go.